to make final decisions on certain matters, with those being appealable to the City Council. On other matters, the Commission acts in an advisory role to the Council, with the Council making the final decision. You will have an opportunity to address the Commission during the public hearing portion of the meeting. Your testimony is appreciated and encouraged. The Commission acts from a written agenda. You will need to fill out a yellow speaker card and give it to the city staff if you wish to speak on an item. Copies of the agenda and the speaker cards are located on the table just inside the main door to the council chambers. At this time, please silence your cell phones. There are 7 members appointed to the Planning Commission. At this time, I will ask commissioners to introduce themselves and state the district they are representing, starting from my far right.
John Crow, Mayor at Large.
Tom Cole, Barrel District.
Good evening, Ed Nyberg, representing the Choya District.
Warren Wilfong, Ocotillo District.
Martin Nowakowski, Yucca District.
Nice going, Ed. Thanks, Dan. I'm the chairperson, Vernon Crow, and I represent Cactus. Okay, let the record show that all members of the Planning Commission are present. The Planning Commission receives staff assistance and guidance from the Planning Division of the City Attorney's Office. Ms. Perry, would you please introduce the city staff who are present this evening?
Thank you, and good evening, Chairperson Crow and Commissioners. To my left is Jim Gruber, Chief Deputy City Attorney. Across the dais is Diana Figueroa, Recording Secretary. There are 5 items on the agenda. Staff presenters are Edward Visual, Senior Planner, Project Manager, Alex Lerma and Jocelyn Castaneda, both planners. Also in the audience is Jamshid Mehta, the Development Service Director, and I am Tabitha Perry, Interim Planning Manager.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We have before us this meeting minutes from April 1st, the regular meeting, May 6th, the workshop, and June 17th, the regular meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Cole?
just a small thing on the June 17th minutes. It's page 2, second line. It should read commissioner instead of the word commission. Small typo. That's all I saw.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Nyberg?
On the same page for June 17th, one correction, if I may. It should be Commissioner Wilfong moved to recommend approval of ZON 2105.
Anything else?
Not for me, thank you.
Commissioners, anything else? Okay, with those revisions, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve minutes from April 1st, regular meeting, workshop on May 6th, and a regular meeting on June 17th.
Support.
And that's with the revisions that,
As amended.
thank you. Okay, we'll have a roll call vote starting from my far right. Commissioner Crow?
Yay.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Commissioner Nyberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilfong?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heath?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It's unanimously passed. Ms. Perry, are there any withdrawals or continuances this evening?
Chairperson Crow, there are none.
Thank you. Okay, the purpose of the public hearing is to provide interested parties an opportunity to present testimony for the commission's consideration. We will follow the same procedures for each item. I will call the application number and the name of the applicant. Staff will present their report and answer questions from the commission. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation and answer questions from the commission. Other persons who wish to testify will be asked to do so and answer questions from the commission. The applicant will have an opportunity for closing comments. Staff will be asked for any final comments on the application and procedural guidance. I will then close the public hearing and ask for a motion prior to discussion. Now, when you come up to speak, you will need to state your name and address for the record if you wish to speak. Please be brief and to the point, and please avoid repetition. I reserve the right to limit the length of your testimony, which is 5 minutes. All exhibits shown to the commission become part of the permanent record and must be submitted for the file. Large groups should designate a spokesperson, and applause and other disruptions will delay the hearing and will not be tolerated. We have 5 public hearing items this evening. The first agenda item is ZON 21-07. And let's see here. Ed Vigil, Senior Planner and Project Manager, will present the case. Ed?
Good evening, Chairperson Crow and Commissioners. Again, my name is Edward Vigil, Senior Planner with the city. And the first case that I'm presenting is Ambra, which is a minor general plan amendment, case 2103, and zoning case 21-07. So the first request is for a minor general plan amendment from low-density residential 2.5 dwelling units per acre to medium-density residential 3.5 to 5 dwelling units per acre. And the second request is a zoning change from the R16 planned residential district and R16 to the R14 planned residential development. The project size is 24 acres. And before you is a vicinity map of the proposed site in relation to City Hall. It's east of the southeast corner of 83rd Avenue and Northern Avenue. The general plan designation, again, is low-density residential, which allows 1 to 2.5 dwelling units per acre. And then this is a zoning map showing the current zoning. Most of the site is R16, but there's a small strip, 5-foot wide strip located along Northern Avenue that is R16 PRD. And this is an aerial of the map showing the location again. And here before you is the conceptual site plan. They are proposing 122 lots with full access off of Northern Avenue and then an emergency access off to the western portions of the site. So the proposed R14 planned residential development standards show in comparison to the regular R14 city development requirements. So the proposed R14 PRD is requesting that the minimum net lot area be 4,500 square feet, where typically the R14 is 4,000 square feet. Another important, development standard to notice is the change from the front yard setback from 15 feet to living to 10 feet to the livable area. The rear setback is going to remain the same, 15 feet for both. And then the side setback is changing to proposed 5 feet on each side. And then the maximum structure height is changing from the R14, 30 feet tall. Oh no, I'm sorry, those are staying the same, 30 feet in height for both. The maximum lot coverage is changing from 45% to 60%. So for public involvement, the applicant mailed notices, the city mailed notices May 21st. No, the applicant mailed notices May 21st to property owners within 300 feet. The proposal was posted on the site on July 15th, and then the hearing and the request was advertised July 15th in the Glendale Star. There was a neighborhood meeting held virtually on June 7th, and as of today, no comments have been received. So the findings, the first finding is that the proposal would provide a viable use of an infill property near existing infrastructure and enable higher residential densities close to jobs, shopping, and services, and thereby adds to the housing variety in the area. The second finding is that the proposal features high density than the surrounding residential areas. The development standards would provide for smaller lots that are typical of the R16 zone and additional lot coverage. And then this suggests a high level of conformity to the city's residential design and development manual standards. And 5, the proposal is consistent with the policies and objectives of the general plan. So staff's recommendation is that these conform to the standards and recommends approval subject to the following stipulations. The first being that the project is in substantial conformance to the project narrative and the PRD booklet entitled Ambra, dated June 15th, 2021. Number 2, the developer shall finalize the location for access and the type of access with the city of Peoria. 3, the developer shall provide 2 separate fire apparatus roads that comply with the 2018 IFC Appendix D, Section D17. And that concludes my presentation for the minor general plan amendment and zoning case for Ambra. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Vigil?
I'll hold on.
Okay. I won't.
Did you say there was a third recommendation? In our packet, there was 2. Did I hear wrong?
3 recommendation. Number 1 is substantial conformance to the project narrative and PRD booklet dated June 15th. The second is the developer shall finalize the location for the type of access with the city of Peoria. And third is the developer shall provide 2 separate fire apparatus roads that comply with the 2018 IFC Appendix D, Section D107.
Okay, the city of Peoria, your number 2 is your number 3 is our number 2, and we don't have a number 3, just to let you know. But right, and then another question in regards to the entrance into this development. There's just one main entrance, right?
One main entrance, full access off of Northern, that was approved by City of Peoria and City of Glendale.
Okay. And that we're going from 6,000 square feet to 4,500 square feet, right? For the R14. And R14 does go down to a lower standard, right?
That's correct. So the R14 lot size requirement is 4,000 square feet. So the PRD is requesting 4,500 square feet. However, the actual lots are going to, their minimum lot size on the application shows 45 by 108, which is actually 4860. So there'll be 4860.
And minimum side yards, 5 feet for each property.
For each side, it's 5 feet, correct.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, anything else? Thank you, Mr. Vigil.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Will the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. For your record, my name is Rick Torres. I'm with the law firm of Earl and Curley. I'm here on behalf of K. Hovnanian Homes, who's our client.
And what was the last name?
Rick Torres, T-O-R-I-S.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm not going to go into too much details because I think Edward's staff report and the presentation they gave did a lot of good gave a lot of good information. So I'll try to highlight some of the things that I think are important for our request. As Edward said, our site is located about midpoint between 75th Avenue and 83rd Avenue on the south side of Northern. This is kind of a blow up of our property. There's a total of 10 parcels. 5 of those parcels that are highlighted in yellow are already in the city of Glendale. They're part of the strip annexation. The 5 southern pieces, or the 5 parcels that are on the south side, are those parcels that will be annexed into the city of Glendale. Your request tonight, or our request tonight, is for the entire 10 parcels that are outlined in black. This slide here kind of shows you a representation of all the projects that K. Hovnanian Home has done in the area. Along Glendale Avenue, we have Cadence at Westgate, and then we have Catania just immediately to the east. We have Positano on the northeast corner of 83rd and Glendale. The size of these lots, Cadence is 40 by 100, Catania is 47 by 110, Positano is 50 by 92. Then we go into a little bit larger lots that are along 83rd Avenue in Orangewood. Orangewood Ranch is about 80 feet by 120, and then we have Orangewood Terrace, which is 75 by 120 in size. And then you may remember along Northern, about a year ago, we were in front of you asking for a general plan amendment and a zoning case for Palermo. And those are 50 by 92s. And then our site tonight is the one that's highlighted in red, and those are 45 by 108. Let me walk you through a little bit about the site plan here. We are proposing to do a gated residential subdivision. It will have 3 what we call usable open space areas. 122 lots and about 4.93 dwelling units per acre. Open space number 1, which is located at the northwest corner of the property, it's really more of a passive, but can be active. It's about 4/10 of an acre. This particular site, it has turf, it has benches, and it has shade trees in there. So if the residents wanted to come and play frisbee, soccer, kickball, catch, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. The centralized open space includes, it's about a little bit shy of a half an acre in size, but it includes a lot of the amenities that we're proposing in the subdivision. It has a tot lot, it will have a shaded tot lot area, it'll have a ramada, it'll have a picnic table, it'll have benches, it'll have a barbecue station, it'll have an active play area for turf, and it'll also have a half-court basketball. And then finally, the southern open space area is reserved for a dog park. That's one of the things that the Councilmember Clark, when we spoke to her about this case, wanted to see, so we incorporated a dog park. It's about a little bit more than a half an acre in size. It will be fenced, it will have a ramada, and it'll have a bench area. So what we're here tonight seeking is a general plan amendment. We're also seeking a rezoning for this. We are proposing to have a gated subdivision with 122 lots, plus or minus 4.82 acres in open space. We have what we see as 3 usable areas. And then again, we're outlining all the amenities that we're including as part of this development. We're coming to you with full staff support. We are in agreement with the 2 or 3 stipulations. However, our staff report 2, but we're okay with the 3rd stipulation because it's just a clarification that we have to coordinate this axis with Peoria, and we're okay with that. We acknowledge that. So we are in agreement with all 3 stipulations. That'll conclude my presentation. I'm here to answer any questions.
Commissioners. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Torres. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I do not have any speaker cards. Are there members of the audience that would like to speak on this case? Okay, I'm assuming that the applicant is done.
Sure. I'd like to make a couple of comments here.
Commissioner Wilfong.
Some of the members that haven't been on the board very long, the city of Glendale has been saturated with these smaller lots, 45-foot and 50-foot lots, over the last couple of years. And every time they come back to us and say this this meets the planning, general plan. So I kind of got the general plan out and I was looking at it. And some of the things in here, and like I said, the developer and the department has done a great job on this presentation. I think the problem here is that we're getting too many of these properties in the smaller lots, and Glendale needs to have larger lots. And it says in the general plan, the city shall develop comprehensive strategy attracting variety of housing opportunities, including higher end and move-up housing market. That's one of them. The city should expand housing stock, encouraging developers to provide executive home sites such as custom homes, large home lots, and other similar products that can be used to attract prospective residents and retain existing residents looking to move up in an area zone for less dense development. Now, I was, kind of like reading up on these smaller lots, and the term transient housing came up. And what they were saying is that these properties are not designed for long-term residents. And the city of Glendale needs to get long-term residents. We don't need to keep having residents moving in and out because that doesn't develop that, neighborhood core. So I am struggling with the 45-foot lots now, or the 4,500-foot lots, because I think we need to go to larger lots. And we haven't seen that many larger lots in the past. And the larger lots that we've had in the past aren't really what I call neighborhood friendly either. So I'm kind of like not really in favor of doing, not against the developer or the department, but the 4,500 lots I think have to kind of be put to a side for a while. Thank you.
Commissioners? Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative like to make any closing remarks?
Commissioners, real quick, I just wanted to clarify on the stipulations for the staff report. Your staff report reads correctly. It is 2 stipulations. It's my PowerPoint that had an extra one that we had taken out. The one that was taken out was on the PowerPoint. Number 2, the developer shall finalize the location for access and the type of access with the city of Peoria. That was already approved by City of Glendale Transportation Engineer and the city of Peoria. So the 2 stipulations in your staff report are the correct stipulations.
Thank you, Mr. Vigil. Mr. Torres?
Diana has it. Can you put his presentation back here?
Oh, yeah. You won't. No, you won't.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand your comment, but from our perspective, we are providing a variety of housing sizes. If you look at the map here, we're providing several different types of home sizes. More importantly, we're doing the same product in Maricopa County, and it's selling for $400,000 and higher. So small lots doesn't necessarily equate to bad development. It's really what happens when you do good quality design. We are doing a gated subdivision, which automatically, in our minds, puts an upscale in our development. So I'm hoping that you understand that there is a need for diversity in Phoenix. You have to provide housing stock. There's a lot of development that's going along the 303 and the 101, and there's going to be a need for housing stock in Glendale. There's a housing shortage everywhere, but primarily when you guys start getting development along the 303 and the 101, there's going to be more need for smaller homes. Small lots are not for everybody. I'm going to be the first one to say that, but it is a need, and it's something that's needed in Glendale. Thank you.
Commissioners? Okay, the public hearing for case GPA 2103 and ZON 2107 is now closed. Do I hear a motion? Commissioner Crowe?
Testing. Make a motion to approve GPA 21-03 and rezoning application ZON 21-07 with stipulations.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Nyberg?
point of order, do we need 2 separate motions on, do these need to be handled separately?
Chair, members of the commission, it's at your discretion if you would like to handle this separately.
Second?
I second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion to approve and a second for case number GPA 2103 and ZON 2107, subject to the stipulations as outlined in the staff report. I will now conduct a roll call vote, starting from my far right.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Nyberg, Commissioner Wilfong,
Nay.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
There's with 5 feet setbacks and 60% lot coverage. Vote nay.
Commissioner Heath.
May explain my vote as well. I have the same reservations as Commissioner Wilfong. I'm a newcomer to the panel here, but I see that the number of applications for smaller lots to be concerning. I don't see a lot of larger lot development even coming up. I am concerned about the access, again, on Northern, where there's only one access in and out, and a considerable number of residents in there, so I do see that that could be potentially another issue. I vote nay.
Okay, I will explain my vote as well. Currently, the market is calling for this type of residence with the price matrix that this type of lot is going to call for, and the type of housing that's there, and there's a big need. However, I think this should send a pretty strong message to staff that this commission is right on its limit of accepting these very, very, very small lots that we're just continually approving. That should be notice. But I will vote aye on this one. Okay, it's been recommended for approval, and it looks like a vote of 4-3. And the next case will be GPA 21-02 and ZON 2102. Oh, yeah. Mr. Vigil?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Mr. Vigil?
Yes.
Just point of order. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps, please, sir?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to GPA 21-03 and ZON 21-07 is not final. Your recommendations will be forwarded to the City Council for further consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Now, Mr. Vigil, sorry about that. We'll go ahead with GPA 21-02 and ZON 21-02.
Thank you, Chairperson Crow and Commissioners. This application is titled Via Palomino. Again, it's minor general plan amendment case 21-02 and zoning case 21-02. So the first request is a minor general plan amendment from general commercial and medium density residential to medium high density residential, which allows 8 to 12 dwelling units per acre. The second request is a zone change from R16, C2, and C3 to R2, which is a mixed residence. The project size is 17.72 acres. This is a vicinity map of the proposed project site in relation to City Hall. It's east of the southeast corner of 51st Avenue and Peoria Avenue. And then this is the general plan designation before you. Currently, the general plan designation is general commercial and medium density residential, which allows 3.5 to 5 dwelling units per acre. This is a zoning map showing the current zoning of C2, C3, and R16. This is an aerial map showing the location in relation to the properties around it. And this is their conceptual site plan. Main access is off of West Peoria Avenue, and also access is provided at 51st Avenue on the southwest corner of the site plan. These are conceptual building elevations of the product. And citizen involvement, notices were mailed out on January 20th to property owners within 300 feet. The proposal was posted on site July 15th, and the hearing and the request was advertised July 15th in the Glendale Star. A neighborhood meeting was held on February 3rd, 2021, and no comments have been received. The findings are that the proposal would result in a quality development product which is consistent with the goals and objectives of the general plan by promoting infill development, by providing a variety of housing types for all income levels, and to support people at various stages of their lives. Staff finds that the request conforms to these standards and recommends approval subject to the following stipulations. The first being conformance to the Via Palomino project narrative dated February 5th, 2021. And number two, the developer shall provide 55 feet half-street right-of-way for Peoria Avenue. Number three, the developer shall provide 45 feet half-street of right-of-way measured from center line for 51st Avenue. And number four, the developer shall provide 20 feet of right-of-way and complete roadway improvements to increase the roadway width to 36 feet back of curb to back of curb on 49th Avenue. And the last one is number five, all overhead utility lines, including communication lines and electric lines less than 69 kV on or adjacent to the site shall be underground as part of this project. Number six, the right-of-way improvements along Peoria Avenue, North 51st Avenue, and North 49th Avenue shall include sidewalk, curb and gutter, ramps, landscaping, and streetlights in compliant with ADA standards. And number seven, on Peoria Avenue, the unused driveway shall be removed and replaced with a sidewalk. And that concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You addressed the 49th Avenue widening, street widening. Oh, there's another street adjacent to residential houses on the south side of the property. Is that going to be widened too?
I believe you're referring to Brown, is that correct?
Yes.
So Brown is going to be improved, but it's with another project. I don't know the exact details of that, but that's currently in the review process as well. And my understanding is that Brown will be improved. I don't know what those standards are, but for this project, 49th Avenue requires that extra 20 feet of dedication, and 49th Avenue will be improved with curb gutter, landscaping, and sidewalk.
So does this project extend to Brown?
So this project, Via Palomino, extends all the way. No, it doesn't go all the way. No, I'm sorry. It goes all the way from Peoria to Brown, and from Brown further south is a separate project.
No, there's houses there.
Wait, maybe I'm confused.
No, it can't be right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's half the. So Brown will be developed by the project coming in, and that's currently in the review process south of this project. This project will not be responsible for any improvements on Brown. It'll be solely the project coming in to the south. But my understanding is that Brown will be improved with that project to the south.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners?
Chairman,
Mr. Wilfong?
are there going to be any deceleration lanes entering this property? You've got one right after Peoria, or on 51st Avenue on Peoria going, I guess, west? I mean, the guys are already at the light, they're accelerating, and now somebody's going to turn in there? And then the same one coming up to Peoria on 51st Avenue, you got, another entrance. Is there a deceleration lane there?
So my understanding is that the transportation engineer has not required a deceleration or right turn lane into the project.
I understand that, but transportation, doesn't deal in real life sometimes. And that's why I'm asking, are you going to have a decelerate? Because my concern is somebody's leaving this intersection, they're accelerating, and somebody's going to make a right into this property, and all of a sudden you're slamming on your brakes again.
Right. At this time, I don't believe a deceleration lane is proposed.
I think that should be considered.
And that's certainly something that we can look at the design review application when that comes in, or during that review.
Commissioner Heath?
For clarification, items 2, 3, and 4 talk about providing half-street, 55-foot, 45-foot, and 20-foot of additional right-of-way. It's pretty clear on the additional 20 feet. But is this going to be an additional 55 feet, or is it going to be widened to 55? And if it's going to be widened to 55,
So
what's the existing width?
Okay, so Peoria Avenue is already built out to its widest dimension. So this property is required to provide 55 feet of right-of-way. And so they actually only have to provide 10 feet, a portion of their site along Peoria, to be consistent with the existing right-of-way. So they will have to improve 10 feet of strip along Peoria Avenue, but they're required to provide that amount of right-of-way. And on 51st, it's, so they're required to provide 45 feet dedication, which is half street of right-of-way. And also 51st is already improved as much as it's going to be improved. So it's just the dedication of right-of-way that they're providing.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Vigil, could you explain for the record on stipulation number 2, recommendation number 2, it was at 60 feet and now it's at 55, and on number 3, it was at 65 and now it's 45.
So typically for a major arterial such as Peoria or 51st Avenue, that is correct. That would be the required dedication amount. However, because it is not built out with the full amount of 60 feet or 55 feet, and there's no plans to widen Peoria or 51st Avenue, and the existing right-of-way is for Peoria is 55 feet, and for Half Street, and for 51st Avenue is 45 feet Half Street. That's all they're required to provide at this time. There's no, because projects that are already developed and have been existing for many years further east of this project site have properties, structures, and homes too close to the intersection that it most likely Peoria Avenue would never be able to be widened.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners?
Mr. Chair? Mr. Bill, obviously, the Planning Commission is sensitive to lot size, and that's going to be an ongoing theme as I forecast. Looking at the exhibit, the overhead for the rezoning and for the general plan amendment has an overlay of another proposed project that's still in the review process. It kind of, isn't an accurate display of what's there now. So, when I look at this particular map, it shows that space between Brown and the project before us. The overlay is already on there of this proposed project that isn't before us. And I just think it would be better for our point of view to see what's actually there rather than something that's speculated in the future. It's just a little misleading. It isn't accurate. Does that make sense?
I think I'm confused.
If I'm not mistaken, the area between the southern border on this display and Brown Street is not an actual development that's there. It's an
Oh,
open
I see.
lot.
Right.
But you show a street and you show lot sizes there.
So previously, that property was approved as a subdivision, and because of market conditions, it was never developed. It just stood vacant. However, there is a plat on that with those lots, but it has never been developed. And so this new applicant came in and submitted their application for their proposal, and that's what's going through the review process currently.
So it's just, you understand, it's just a little confusing.
Right,
that we
you're
would
right.
have those streets on there and those lots there when they're not.
No,
certainly
I
not an approved
understand.
Project and they're not.
I
in
agree with you,
existence.
and I didn't catch that, but next time I'll make sure.
Thanks.
Chairman?
Please,
I'm sorry, Tom,
please.
you don't.
No, please, you have the floor.
It's platted. That's what you just said, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So that,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're
We
welcome.
understand.
Yeah.
Mr. Vigil, is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation, please?
Awesome, thank you. Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. Brendan Ray, Birch and Cracchiola, 1850 North Central, here on behalf of the applicant, Next Metro Development. Certainly, as you well know, this is a request, a general plan amendment and a rezoning request on a very challenging infill site for what we believe is a high-quality multifamily development. If you're not familiar with Next Metro, they are a Phoenix-based company that has a considerable number of these developments. I would probably consider them the market leader when it comes to this type of a single-family rental community. They've got numerous developments here in the Valley, as well as developments in Texas, Florida, and Colorado as well. As staff indicated in their report, the majority of this site, and actually most of the site's been zoned commercial since the 60s and has failed to develop consistent with that commercial designation through numerous development cycles. The residences that surround the area, a majority of them were built in the 1970s. And so when we look at this site, we believe that the commercial use is no longer viable, or else something would have been built a number of years ago. And so we believe that this is an appropriate use for the site. We'll provide additional support for the commercial developments in the area and provide an alternative housing choice that I don't believe exists in this immediate corner. We think it's consistent with good planning principles when we talk about that in terms of graduating densities and intensities between the commercial developments at the other corners to the single-family residences that are east of us and eventually to the south of us. And I can certainly speak a little bit more, Commissioner, to your comment about that, but I think we got that issue addressed. I will tell you that we have worked hand in glove with staff on this. This is one that we've worked closely with them on as we've gone throughout the process on a number of things, but in particular, we focused on the design of the community, focusing on the perimeter setbacks, the perimeter condition, what that looks like, our entrances, and the architecture of the buildings themselves. And we're appreciative that staff would work with us and that we could come with something that we believe is going to be a very good development on like I said, this challenging infill site. We believe that it does meet numerous of the goals and policies in the general plan, and some of those are outlined in the project narrative that I believe was attached to your staff report as an attachment. And we're certainly appreciative of the clarifications on the stipulations. I can clarify a little bit more with respect to right-of-ways and dedication and specifically address Commissioner Wilfong's comment about a decel lane. But we would request your recommendation for approval in accordance with staff's recommendation. I can go into as much detail as you would like about this presentation. I want to be sensitive to time and everything tonight. And so what I'll do is I'm going to touch on a few things really quick and then get into answering some of the questions that I heard during staff presentation. As was indicated, the site that we're talking about is this 17 acres that's outlined in black. One of the things as we went through the process and had our neighborhood meeting in February, we had a total of 3 neighbors show up. Most of those neighbors were excited to see this type of a development. They were pleased to see that it was all one stories. Some of you may have been on the commission. I certainly wasn't around, but the battles that I've heard that were fought when the commercial development was tried to go on here, I think I've heard Target has tried to go on this side. I've heard Winco tried to go on this side, and the neighbors at least commented to us in our neighborhood meeting how they were very successful in defeating those commercial rezoning efforts. And so it was a pleasant surprise when we had heard that going into it, that the neighbors that we had spoken with at the neighborhood meeting were actually supportive of this development. Their biggest thing was really wanting, a comment that was made was focusing on what are we doing to 49th. They were interested in that. And as you can tell from the site plan, and I'll get to that. We purposefully have no pedestrian or vehicular access to 49th, but we are improving it. And there was a considerable amount of discussion and confusion similar to what I heard today about, well, who's improving what, and what about Brown all the way on the south? And so we explained to them, look, we're only responsible for improving what is adjacent to our development. So we are going to widen 49th so that you can have a fully complete street over there. And they were appreciative of that. We explained, look, the developer that's coming in south of us on those platted lots, they would be responsible for making those improvements and then improving Brown on the south side. And so we certainly appreciative of the neighbors, and I don't know if I have a neighbor here that's turning a card, but I think is evidenced by the fact that I don't have a room full of people screaming at me. I think this is a good development. One of the things, I don't know if how familiar you are with the single-family rental concept. I can go in as much detail as you'd like, but just very briefly, this is kind of a typical layout. One of the things that makes this so attractive is it has what's called 4 walls of freedom. There is no one, unlike a traditional apartment complex, I don't have anybody above me, below me, behind me. Each of these units is a standalone. There's the 1-bedrooms that are kind of, because of the size of the square footage, those are in a duplex style. And then we've got a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom that are standalone units. Each residence has their own private rear yard. And you can see that. I've kind of shaded those green on there. But those private rear yards, landscaping's provided in them for the residents' benefit. And kind of the unique thing that makes this development so attractive is it really is kind of a lifestyle choice. A number of people, and I think it's important to understand who are the people that live in this type of a development. And as I mentioned, Next Metro is considered, from my perspective, one of the industry leader in terms of the number of units that they have built in the Phoenix metro area, well over 2,000. I think we're close to 2,500 that are built in various construction and planning phases. And then as we go into the broader market outside of Arizona, up around 4,000 of these types of developments. And so these are real-time demographics, surveys that they've conducted as they've gone through their communities, and gets you a really good flavor and feel of the type of people that live here. One of the things that we know is that some of these people are employed by, pretty reputable companies in terms of Amazon, Banner Health. We have a number that are from Carvana, the city of Glendale, Farmers Insurance. We have a number of residents that are for Quick Trip, USAA, certainly Luke Air Force Base. So it provides housing for those types of people with those types of companies. And so we think it does a really good thing. Again, I can go into as much detail as you want. I will tell you, if you want me to go into more detail of the challenges that were laid before us to provide a better entrance, and the entrance along Peoria and an entrance along 51st. And you can see there, and if you've read the packet in detail, it's kind of a resort-style entrance with palm trees, textured paving, turf mounds, low accent walls. And again, I can go into more detail. They asked us to replicate something similar along 51st, in which we're more than happy to do. We've got great open space. Almost in terms of our site and open space, we have a total of a little over 6.5 acres that's dedicated open space. And that open space is a combination of improved open space, kind of active open space, private open space, and common open space as well. So we're doing lots of good things. This type of a community is a maintenance-free lifestyle. It takes the best of single-family living, like I said, with the 4 walls of freedom, and combines it with multifamily lease rates and terms. Maintenance is by a property management company, so they will maintain everything, including the private rear yards. They go back and maintain them, make sure the landscaping's good in all of these private rear yards, and so it really is kind of a unique niche development that, as I mentioned, is a lifestyle choice. And again, I can go into detail about amenities, floor plans, I can show you pictures, but I think I want to focus now, unless this commission wants me to go into those details, on some of the questions that I heard during the initial presentation by staff. One dealt with what's going on with right-of-way and why is the right-of-way different from what was initially in the staff report, and what these revised stipulations with the 65 and the 55 and all that stuff. And I think as staff indicated, Peoria is built to its maximum capacity. 51st is built to its maximum capacity. When you start heading east as you head further east on Peoria, you can kind of see there that that right-of-way actually decreases down to 45 feet. And so because of that, as staff indicated, there's not really an opportunity to widen Peoria to a traditional arterial street standard. And so that's the change. Part of the reason for us to make additional dedication is to clean some gaps in the underlying right-of-way dedication, and so it's to clean up. With respect to Commissioner Wilfong's comment about getting people into the site, there is going to be a right-turn decel lane that is going to be on Peoria, and that shows up in our site plan. That's part of the application, but if you'd like to stipulate us to ensure that that's there, great, fine, but I know that the development plans that we have submitted do show a right-turn decel lane into the development. I think that hopefully addresses some of the comments about the right-of-way and the dedication. Again, I can go into a lot more detail. I've got a robust presentation, as this commission has heard me make before, but I will stop at this point and say we're grateful for staff, grateful for their recommendation, and we would request your approval. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Commissioners, are there any questions for Mr. Ray?
Chairman?
Commissioner Wilfong?
Yeah, okay, I appreciate the Peoria deceleration lane. The one on 51st Avenue, it's kind of close to the intersection. The issue we had one time before was that close to the intersection, people try to make a left instead of going right. Can we have a right only coming out of that section?
Through the chair, Commissioner Wilfong, I would defer to traffic and what they would say on that as far as appropriateness. As I think staff indicated, this was vetted and reviewed by the Traffic Engineering Department, and we believe, and I could be mistaken, that we do meet the spacing requirements for a full movement. If I'm out of turn speaking and that we are meeting those requirements, I'm sure someone will quickly correct me. But we would certainly, agree with whatever traffic engineering says is appropriate down there.
No, I understand that, but when the traffic is backed up, and I've seen it backed up past where your entrance is, and somebody's in there trying to make a left, and then you've got somebody going across 3 lanes of traffic or 2 lanes of traffic, and then it gets into that center lane where the guy's going north to catch the light, T-bones the guy coming out of there. It's just something that we had an issue with before, and the developer had no problem putting a right only out of that intersection or that entrance or the exit. And my concern is I don't want to sit there and encourage people to be unsafe. and that would encourage people to be unsafe that close to an intersection.
Sure. Through the chair, Commissioner Wilfong, I'm probably not equipped at this point to make a commitment on that, only because I would defer to the traffic engineering professionals, including the city, including our private traffic engineer who is not here, to give us that honest assessment as to whether or not there is safe movement that occur, whether it's a left turn, right turn, whatever, coming out of that intersection. And without understanding that analysis, and I appreciate what you're saying, we've all had, experiences as we drive around, as we live in various areas and parts of this valley that lead us to one type of a conclusion. And that's why in this case, unless staff knows better, I would defer to them. I would say we're happy to take a look at that from a traffic engineering standpoint, and if there is a justification and need from those professional opinions to do so, we're probably more than happy to do so.
I had appreciate, like I said, sometimes the traffic engineers don't live in real life, okay? They just go by numbers. But when you go out there during rush hour, you see the real life situation. So that's why I'm kind of like addressing this, because we had an issue like that we wanted to address before, and the developer had no problem doing it, so. Would you oppose to something like that?
What I would recommend is that if the commission would like to do such a stipulation, that it would be that the applicant shall work with city staff to determine whether it is appropriate for it to be right in, right out only.
Okay, maybe that's something we consider then.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Ray?
Just one.
Commissioner Wilfong, or excuse me, Nowakowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ray, can you just share how the landscape, how the separation on the south side of this project will be for that future development? Is that a wall? Is it landscape with trees? What's the setback between the back of the house to the next property?
Through the chair, Commissioner Nowakowski, as you can see, this is the landscape plan, and what we are doing is planting a row of trees along that southern property line. Those will be in the rear yards, and again, those will be maintained by the management company. So that's a positive from our perspective, that we don't have to worry about individual residents doing that. In terms of the setback along that area, we do comply with the requested zoning, and we have a 15-foot building setback that runs along that southern property line. Recognize, and I hope this group will appreciate, even though it's a vacant dirt lot, the existing final plat that was recorded on there called for, and admittedly it was a little bit odd, but that final plat called for a 20-foot multi-use easement on the south side of our property. So you can kind of see ghosted in on there. That kind of represents what was on the south side. And so, but in terms of what's on our side, 15-foot setback, and as you can tell, got a row of trees running along there.
There is a wall.
There is a wall, yes, thank you, yes.
And how tall is that wall?
It'll be a 6-foot high wall.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Chair?
Commissioner Crowe.
Yeah, Mr. Ray, thanks for being here. Has your client discussed interior finish levels? I didn't see it in the report. Can you describe the interior finish levels on these units?
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner Crowe, if I can exit out, I'd probably get a photo of the interior.
Just in general.
And so I'll describe them. Unlike typical single-family housing, you have a ceiling height or a plate height of anywhere between 8.5 and 9 feet. That's typical single-family residence. In this case, all of these residences, the ceiling height is 10 feet. So you start with an additional foot of space inside of these units. And then in terms of the fit and finish on the interiors, it's what you would expect for the type of residents that live in this. Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, and the beauty of this maintenance-free lifestyle is that if you've got a light bulb that goes out, if something goes wrong with your dishwasher or whatever, you don't have to come and fix it yourself. You just put in a request to the property management company, and they come in and take care of it. So it truly is as maintenance-free a lifestyle as one could have. But, you know, it's the fit and finish that you would expect and that residents expect to see with the granite, with the stainless steel, with the quality cabinetry, and the higher roof plates, because it does, if you were to look at the floor plans, really opens it up and gives it a nice feel in terms of the square footages of the individual buildings.
And did your client discuss rental rates?
We have.
Is that something you can discuss?
I would give every legal caveat that I can whenever I discuss the price of something, and would certainly say that this is what I will tell is in today's dollars, and no saying as to what it'll be in the future. But in terms of the rental rate, you're looking at somewhere between 13-ish hundred for a one-bedroom, all the way up to probably about 1,800 or so for a three-bedroom.
Okay, so if I were to say that, if my math is right, the median price in that neighborhood is about 1,400, you would say that this is a higher-end product than the neighborhood is currently servicing?
Through the chair, it is. And if I need to, I can get a representative from Next Metro. Jared Geisler is with me, and Brian Rosenbaum as well. Usually, when they look at their rates, they look at the rental rates and what's going on in the market, and then bump it up a little bit more, just because of what they are providing.
Because of the finish level, et cetera.
The finish level and the fact that it's all, I don't think I mentioned
Self-contained.
this. Yeah, it's a one-story, single-family rental community.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioners?
One more.
Commissioner Wilfong?
So it's 197 units, right?
Yes.
How many parking spaces are allowed in that area? Or how many?
I knew you were going to ask that question for parking, so let me get to my notes. In terms of parking, the code requires 402 parking spaces, and we are providing 409.
409. Okay.
Yeah, so we're exceeding it. So it's a little over 2 spaces
Per unit? Okay.
And that's a combination of, as you can see on this site plan, there is covered parking, there are garages, and then uncovered for guests.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, one more time.
Oh, wait.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you.
I do not have any speaker cards. Are there any members of the audience that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none and seeing none, and we have no cards, Diana? Okay. The public hearing for case number GPA 2102 and ZON 2102 is now closed. Gentlemen, do I hear a motion?
Chairman, are we doing 2 or 1?
If you're going to have a stipulation, we probably should do them separately.
Okay, do it separately. Okay.
So I'll take a motion on GPA 21-02.
Okay, Chairman,
Commissioner Wilfong,
I recommend we approve GPA 21-02 as written.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Are there any further discussions regarding case GPA 2102? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve case GPA 21-02, subject to the stipulations as outlined in the staff report. I will conduct a roll call starting from my far right.
Aye.
Commissioner Crowe,
I'll do it again. Aye.
Commissioner Cole,
Aye.
Commissioner Nyberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilfong,
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski,
Aye.
Commissioner Heath.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. Now do I have a motion on ZON 21-02?
Chairman,
Commissioner Wilfong,
I recommend we approve ZON 21-02 with the stipulations that the staff has written, plus that staff works with the developer on a right only out of 51st Avenue. Is that the correct way of doing it?
Mr. Gruber?
Chair, members of the commission, and just for the record, the recommended additional stipulation
And
is
stipulating, yes,
that staff will work with the developer.
developer for a right only on 51st Avenue.
A right out.
A right out, yeah.
To determine whether such,
Well, I think it's highly recommended that, I think this commission would like to see that,
Well,
if we could do it that way.
are you saying that you want to see if it's feasible?
I would like to see it.
If it's needed, or you want it regardless?
I want regardless.
Okay. You need to restate your motion.
Okay. I would recommend we approve ZON 21-02 with the stipulations that staff report had, plus a right out only on 51st Avenue stipulation.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve ZON 21-02 with the stipulations of the staff report and one additional stipulation as stated by Commissioner Wilfong. I will call, is there any further discussion before I call for a vote?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Cole?
Original additional stipulation was that staff and the developer work with traffic engineering to determine the necessity of a right out only, which seems reasonable to me. So I guess it's a point of order. If I don't agree with the additional stipulation,
Then you simply don't vote aye.
thank you.
Well, we've got a motion and a second on the floor, so we have to take care of that first. Commissioner Crowe?
I'm just unclear on how to proceed. If you don't agree with the stipulation and you do agree with the project, you're voting aye to approve the rezoning.
No, what's on the floor is to approve the zoning with the stipulations as written, plus the additional one that requires a right-out only turn onto 51st Avenue. Now, if you're not in agreement with that, then we will vote on it, and if it doesn't pass, then it'll be open for the next motion.
Understand.
Commissioners, anything else? Okay, there is a motion and a second on the floor. I'll start with Commissioner Crowe.
Yeah, I don't agree with forcing a city or a developer against the wishes of or against the determination by a civil authority or a planning department. So, nay, no.
Commissioner Cole?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to also explain my vote.
Your mic.
Thank you. I'd like to explain my vote, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I'm very sensitive to Commissioner Wilfong's concerns about the safety, traffic safety of the ins and outs on 51st Avenue. I think it's more than reasonable to have traffic look at this thing and work with the developer just to ensure the commission and everybody else that it's a safe project. But I too have trouble with this commission making a stipulation to the developer for a must-be right turn, so I also vote no.
Commissioner Nyberg?
Chairman, I agree with what has been said. I'm sensitive to the issue, but I'm concerned about some of the parameters, the space, and making that a hard stipulation, so I will vote no also.
Commissioner Wilfong?
Chairman, we can just go ahead and withdraw that recommendation and start over if you want to. Or you want to finish it?
Finish it, please.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Nay.
Commissioner Heath?
Aye.
Chair votes nay. The motion fails, so Chair will entertain a second motion.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Nyberg.
I would recommend approval of ZON 21-02, subject to the stipulations prepared by staff and that are in the recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair, point of order. I do believe that the consideration of traffic, reviewing this with the developer and with staff to make sure that the right-hand turn is looked at and considered, it should be a stipulation in this consideration. So again, just wanted to make sure we're doing this right. Is it possible for me to add on to Vice Chair Nyberg's?
No. Commissioner Nyberg will have to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I would accept the friendly amendment to my motion
Which is?
to encourage city staff, planning, and traffic to work with the developer to determine the appropriateness of the right-out only turn lane.
Okay. We have now have an amendment to the ZON 21-02. Do I have a second?
Second.
I now have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Commissioner Heath?
Can we please clarify exactly what it is that we have the motion on at this point?
Mr. Chairman, my motion was to approve the recommendation that includes the 7 stipulations in the planning staff report with the addition of stipulation seeking planning and the developer and traffic to work to determine the appropriateness of a right-only exit.
That would be stipulation number 8.
And so how does that work then if traffic decides that it's not feasible or warranted, then the project goes forward without that? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Commissioners, anything else? Okay, I will conduct a roll call vote, starting from my far right, Commissioner Crow.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole. Aye. Commissioner Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilfong.
I'm going to explain my answer.
Please.
I hope the developer takes this into consideration on the right turn. Actually seeing an accident happen that way, it's not a pleasant sight. It's clearly unavoidable, and I hope the developer takes serious consideration in putting a right out only on 51st Avenue. Thank you. Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Heath.
I'd like to explain my answer as well. I like the project. I like the idea, the concept. I like everything about it but traffic control. And the traffic control is something near and dear to my heart. So I do hope that staff will consider when they start looking at these projects in the future that they take more consideration into the traffic safety. I vote aye.
Okay, Chair, would like to echo the comments from the commission. I too want to make sure that this is a safe project, and I hope that the developer will work with staff to make sure that that right only is not only feasible, but is in fact a good safety factor. Chair votes aye. Okay, next agenda item, case number GPA 21-04 and ZON 21-08. Mr. Vigil.
I need you to fix this.
Yeah. Mr. Vigil, once again, my apologies.
Thank you, Chairperson Crow.
Mr. Gruber, excuse me, Mr. Vigil. Mr. Gruber, sorry, left you out, didn't I? What's the next steps?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to the previous case, the general plan amendment and the rezone is not final. Your recommendation will be forwarded to the city council for further consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Now, Mr. Vigil, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Chairman Crow and Commissioners. So this final application that I'm presenting tonight is for Modern at Arrowhead. It's a minor general plan amendment, case 21-04, and zoning case 21-08. So the first request is, again, a minor general plan amendment from general commercial to HDR 20, which is the highest density residential, 12 to 20 dwelling units per acre. And then the second request is a zone change from C2 to R3, which is multiple residence, to R5 multiple residence. And the project size is 9.4 acres. This is a vicinity map of the proposed project in relation to City Hall. It's located at the northeast corner of 67th Avenue in Greenway. And then the general plan designation is general commercial and HDR 20. And then this is a zoning map of the current property, which is R3 and C2. And this is an aerial showing the surrounding properties and the project site.
There you go.
And then this is a conceptual site plan. So access would be provided at Greenway Road and also at 67th Avenue. These are conceptual building elevations of what the product could look like. So for public involvement, notices were mailed out on June 8th to property owners within 300 feet. The site was posted on July 15th. The hearing and the request was advertised in the Glendale Star on July 15th, and a neighborhood meeting was held on June 24th, 2021. And again, no comments have been received from the community on this project. The findings are, number one, that the amendment is consistent with the policies and objectives of the city's general plan, zoning ordinance, and residential design and development policies. Number two, it promotes infill development within portions of the city where infrastructure is already available. And number three, contributes to the supply and diversity of housing. And number four, overall furthers the public health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens of Glendale. Staff finds the request conforms to these standards and recommends approval subject to the following stipulations. Number one, development be in substantial conformance with the applicant's project narrative dated April 19th, 2021. Number two, the developer shall provide 65 feet half-street right-of-way for 67th Avenue to be in compliance with Section A4 3M3 in the City of Glendale Standard Detail G303. The developer will be required to provide 75 feet of half-street right-of-way within 250 feet of the intersection. And number three, the developer shall provide 55 feet half-street right-of-way measured from center line for Greenway Road to be in compliance with Section A1212 in the City of Glendale Standard Detail G302. And the developer will be required to provide 65 feet half-street right-of-way within 250 feet of the intersection. And number four, a right turn lane on northbound 67th Avenue is required and will need to be 150 feet in length and have a taper of 100 feet. Number five, a minor land division is required to tie the parcels together. And number six, all overhead utility lines, including communication lines, electric lines, less than 69 kV on or adjacent to the site shall be undergrounded as part of the project. And number seven, a current phase one ESA assessment is required for easement and or right-of-way dedication within 6 months of going to City Council. And that concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Commissioners. Oh, gosh, looks like you got a light on this one. Thank you, Mr. Vigil.
Thank you.
Would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. I'm not Dave Krzyzewski. I'm here on his behalf. He's out of the country tonight and asked that I present for him and the team tonight. For the record, John Froke. I live in the Choya District in Glendale. My office is on 28th Drive in Phoenix. I'm happy to be here tonight. Hopefully, I won't be up here as early or as late as some of the other presenters before us. Edward did a great job. I don't really have a lot to add. Just a little bit of site context and some of the history with the site. This is one of those parts of Glendale, in fact, I live a couple miles from here, where because we don't have an arterial through connection west of on Greenway Road out to 75th Avenue, this is not a strong commercial corner. So if you look at the zoning map that Edward had up momentarily with his presentation, maybe I'll go back up to it. Whoop. Thank you. So the C2 on the corner, we want to get rid of that. If you look at the case number, it's from 1980, 1984. There's some probably B grade or C grade commercial in the northwest corner. We want to make the C2 go away on the corner. We'll do a homogeneous landscaping and one project, if you will. So the request would be to eliminate the commercial. We won't have tattoo parlors, marijuana facilities, piercing studios, head shops, et cetera. We'll just have a very well-planned residential community. We do self-park. We've got about 25% open space. We had a neighborhood meeting, a virtual meeting back in June. Edward was on that call along with myself and Mr. Vigil, or Mr. Chachevsky. We actually have neighborhood support. The resident at our very northwest corner was on the virtual meeting. He voiced his support. We have a high school a couple hundred feet away to the east. We agree with the recommended staff stipulations. And with respect to the site plan itself, nice feature on the corner right on Greenway and 67th. We'll have open space and a pedestrian connection. It is a gated community, so we'll have a nice environment for our future residents. So we think it's a great project. It's a great infill. If somebody wants commercial, they can find that up on Bell, employment in the Bell Road corridor, lots of shopping, lots of places to eat. If places to work, Banner Thunderbird is not far from here. Down in the Thunderbird Road medical corridor, Arrowhead Hospital is a couple miles north of here. So we feel bringing more residential to this area in a gated community works really well and would be a really good addition of the city. So I've rambled on a little bit too much, a little scattered, but again, we agree with the staff recommendations and the stipulations, and happy to answer any questions tonight.
Commissioners, anything for Mr. Froke?
Great.
Great job, Mr. Froke.
Thank you. I don't know about that, but thank you.
One real quick
Uh-oh,
question.
Mr. Nowakowski.
In the plan, it said Glendale Elementary School District was but the school closest is Foothills Elementary. That's in Peoria Unified, I believe.
Correct. We did I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, can you clarify that in my brain?
Through the chairman, Commissioner Nowakowski, we are in the Peoria Unified School District. I don't know if that's a typo. We do a certification of adequate schools. That's already been submitted to the department, so I think we're good there. Thank you for clarifying that for us.
That should be cleaned up before council.
Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioners, anything else from Mr. Froke? Thank you, Mr. Froke.
Thank you.
I have no speaker cards. Diana, is that correct? Okay, is there any member of the audience that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none and seeing none. The public hearing for case number GPA 2104 and ZON 21-08 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Chairman.
Are we doing one motion again?
Commissioner Wilfong.
One motion? For
Yeah,
both of them?
yeah, you can do it.
Chairman, I recommend we approve GPA 21-04 as written, and plus recommend approval of ZON 21-08 with the stipulations provided by the staff report.
Do I have a second? Support. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or further discussion from the commission? Okay, hearing none. I have a motion and a second to approve case number GPA 21-04 and ZON 21-08, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff report. I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Crow.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Commissioner Nyberg. Aye. Commissioner Wilfong.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Heath.
Aye.
Chairperson votes aye. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps in the process?
Chairman, members of the commission, your action with respect to case numbers GPA 21-04 and ZON 21-08 are not final. Your recommendation will now go to the City Council for further consideration.
Okay, our next agenda item is ZON 21.06. And that will be presented by Mr. Lerma.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Before you have item ZON 21-06. The applicant has submitted their application and is requesting to rezone the property from the existing zoning of commercial 2 to planned area development for future mixed commercial development. The applicant, Maria Grishina, with Simon CRE and representing the developer, H&W Properties. The property is located on the southeast corner of 75th Avenue and Glendale Avenue. This is a vicinity map showing the relationship between the City Hall and the subject property. It's located 2 miles west of City Hall. General plan identifies the property with a designation of planned commercial. The property is currently zoned commercial 2. Those properties that are surrounding it are those of commercial usage and single-family residential properties. Here's the vicinity map. Those uses that are abutting the property are going to be Shadow Run subdivision that is abutting the property to the west, to the south, and to the east. Across the street from Glendale Avenue, we'll see commercial properties, Shoppers at Glendale 75. Abutting the property to the northwest corner is actually a Circle K. Property across the street from 75th Avenue is a vacant property. Currently, finished a design review process through DR 20-14. The project's name is Ascended at Glendale. It's a multifamily residential project proposing about 216 units. The property has some historical information or points of history of the site. The site was rezoned to the existing classification of C2 through zoning KZ 84-34 on June 26, 1984. This was a commission-initiated zoning application for properties that were part of the West Annexation Area number 103. Historically, the site has remained vacant. There has not been previous development besides the 2 billboards. One of them is on Glendale Avenue and one of them is on 75th Avenue. Just some details about the project itself. The project is consisted of 5 pads. Master site plan was included within the packet, and I will be showing it after these slides. Those uses that are being proposed that the developer is envisioning is those of up to 3 drive-through services, office use, retail use, and personal services, and financial institutions. The specific thematic and repetitive design elements of the building facades will be required by the PAD design guidelines. Each individual pad will need to come in for a separate design review. These are going to be developed, I believe, in 2 phases. Each pad is going to be coming in individually. There are 2 access points that are being proposed along 75th Avenue with decel lanes and 1 on Glendale Avenue, also with a decel lane. Here's a master development plan that was included again within the packet. As shown here, I believe lot number 1, lot number 5, and lot number 4 are the buildings that are being proposed with drive-through services. Building lot number 2 and lot number 3 are going to be the ones that are identified more for retail services that are closer to the residential project to the east and to the south. Here's a landscaping plan just indicating the location of the landscaping to mitigate the impact of this development to the subdivision to the south and to the east. They are proposing an 8-foot wall, either by their own wall within the project or working with a subdivision to the south to add that additional height to that existing wall, in addition to the landscaping buffer, 25-foot buffer that's going to go along the south property line and go along the east property line to connect with Glendale Avenue, with a substantial amount of trees being aligned within both areas. The applicant has submitted and completed the citizens participation, or has completed the citizens participation process. Initially, notification letters went out to surrounding property owners within 300 feet of the applicant's intent. A virtual neighborhood meeting was conducted on February 10th, 2021. 5 property owners within that subdivision attended said meeting. They had concerns most of all about the mitigation to the subdivision, and the applicant assured us of the substantial amount of trees that were going to be located there and the addition of the height of the wall. Staff did receive an email this morning from one of the adjacent property owners from a commercial site north of Glendale Avenue. The email was pretty vague, but it did state that they were in opposition. They were still trying to figure out what the project was about. Staff did try to communicate with them through the phone with no answer. So staff will be continuing to communicate with them before this item goes through the city council as an item, and try to make sure that all his questions are answered. The citizens participation final report is including within the packet. Also included the minute, the discussions that were discussed during the virtual neighborhood meeting. The legal ad was published within the Glendale Star on July 15th, 2021, and site was posted and postcards were sent out on July 16th, 2021. Staff has completed their findings of this project, and these are the findings. The proposed amendment is consistent with the substance and location within the development objectives of the general plan. The proposal is compatible with the existing and planned development in the area. And the last one, the proposed development meets several goals and policies of the general plan, these being specifically the concentration of new growth in the area, which serves most efficiently with the infrastructure, coordinating building design, site arrangement, and intended uses. Analysis of the project: the developer will be oriented towards the major streets with a larger retail building located to the southeast portion of the site. The orientation of the building and parking fits the site while allowing lush landscaping and an 8-foot wall to buffer the residential use to the south and to the east. The required 25-foot landscaping buffer serves to enhance the site and provide site and noise mitigation. Based on the applicant's desire to attract certain end users, some of the uses that would be otherwise allowed within the within the C2 zoning district have been eliminated. The developer was using the C2 zoning district as a base for their PAD. Some of the uses, or most of the uses that will be permitted within the C2 zoning district would be permitted within this PAD, with the exception of those that are listed under the conditional use permit and subject to conditions. Sidewalk proposed along 75th Avenue and Glendale Avenue will connect internally within the development sidewalk path leading to each building. And all applicable city departments have reviewed this application. There are no significant issues associated with the request. Transportation has reviewed this traffic impact study and concurs with the findings and adequate servability. With staff findings and analysis, staff recommends that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to City Council. If Planning Commission chooses to forward a recommendation, staff recommends the following stipulations. Stipulation number 1 has a typo. I will read it in the correct way. It says the developer shall be in substantial conformance with the master site plan outlined in the PAD booklet and the PAD booklet entitled 75th and Glendale Retail Center, dated July 19th, 2021. Stipulation number 2, 75% of the proposed trees that are being proposed along the south and east property line shall be a minimum of 24-inch box. This is just an assurance that the developer will put a substantial amount of mature trees along the landscaping buffer along the subdivision. Stipulation number 3, the developer should dedicate an additional 10 feet on Glendale Avenue for a total of 65 feet half-street right-of-way measured from center line for the length of the development. Stipulation number 4, the developer shall dedicate an additional 10 feet along 75th Avenue for 65 feet of half-street right-of-way measured from center line within 250 feet south of 75th Avenue and Glendale Avenue intersection. Stipulation number 5, a right turn deceleration lane shall be required, 2 points of access on 75th Avenue, and at the single point of access on Glendale Avenue. Stipulation number 6, a left turn deceleration lane shall be required at the medium on Glendale Avenue leading to the north project access. Stipulation number 7, the property frontage on 75th and Glendale Avenue shall require a minimum of a 6-foot sidewalk. Stipulation number 8, a minimum of a 5-foot sidewalk shall be required on all sidewalk paths within the development. Stipulation number 9, a minimum of 5-foot ADA compliant path shall be required leading to each building to the public right-of-way. And stipulation number 10, as part of the master development, the developer shall complete all perimeter improvements before or as part of the first development that goes on. That's just an assurance that the mitigation or the landscaping and the screen wall will go in within the first phase of the development. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this concludes my presentation.
Commissioners, anything for Mr. Lerma? I guess you're good, Mr. Lerma. Thank you, sir. Okay, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Maria Grishina, Simon Commercial Real Estate, 6900 East 2nd Street. I don't have much to add to Mr. Lerma's presentation other than happy to present and be in person at the City Council and City Chambers. We're glad to be in the City of Glendale presenting commercial project and the major intersection of 75th and Glendale, proposing lots of uses within C2 zoning. Staff stipulated us to go through the PED rezone to ensure that all of the code stipulations will be met, and our development will be in compliance with the surrounding new developments as well. We were in contact with the Circle K on the Hart Corner as well as the residential development across the street to ensure that the traffic will be not impacted, and the Circle K future development will be in compliance with our current development as well. I'm here to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
Commissioners? Commissioner Nyberg.
Just a couple of questions. Are there currently some billboards on your property or on the property?
Yes. There's 2 of them currently.
Remove those billboards?
As soon as Simon Sierra will be purchasing the property, the billboard leases will be terminated and the billboards removed. You're welcome.
Commissioners?
Comment. I can do it later. Do it now.
Go ahead. Commissioner Nyberg, or Nowakowski.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make a comment that, you know, we've been voting on a lot of corner lots properties, and thank goodness that it's a commercial development, not a high-density residential multifamily one. You know, I've been told that for decades, been trying to develop this property, but commercial just won't go in. So I'd like to thank you for this commercial development on a, you know, Glendale Avenue that is the gateway to Westgate, to downtown Glendale, and needs improvement. And I certainly hope that the businesses that you attract are great for the neighborhood and great for visitors, tourists to our community, and that other corners that are yet to be developed, like 83rd and Glendale, follow suit. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
Commissioners, anything else? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I do not have any speaker cards. Are there any members of the audience that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none and seeing none. The public hearing for case number ZON 21-06 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend approval of ZON 21-06, subject to the stipulations contained in the staff report.
Support.
Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve case ZON 21-06, subject to the stipulations as outlined by the staff. I will now conduct the roll call vote, starting from my far right. Commissioner Crow.
Aye.
Commissioner Cole.
Aye.
Commissioner Nyberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilfong.
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Heath.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mr. Gruber, what are the next steps?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to case number ZON 21-06 is not final. Your recommendation will be forwarded to the City Council for further consideration.
Thank you, sir. Our next agenda item is case number CUP 21-05, and it'll be presented by Ms. Castaneda.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Crow and Commissioners. My name is Jocelyn Castaneda, and I am the project manager for the CUP application you have before you. It is for Bollinger Firearm Solutions, and the CUP application number is CUP 21-05. The request is for the approval of a conditional use permit, CUP, for the sale of firearms as a home occupation class 2 in the R16 single residence zoning district. And the applicant is the homeowner, Mr. John Bollinger. The vicinity map shows the property in relation to City Hall. It is located north of City Hall, east of 51st Avenue between Olive and Peoria. The general plan designation is MDR5, which is medium density residential, 3.5 dwelling units per acre. The aerial map shows the location of the residential property located on the southwest corner of Turquoise Avenue and 49th Avenue. The zoning map shows that all of the adjacent properties are zoned R16 to the north, west, south, and east. The street view shows the current property facing south, and just to show some of the parking spaces that I'll get into on the next slide. The following is showing the site plan of the property and to indicate the 3 available parking spaces to be used for potential customers for the home-based business. For public involvement, notification letters were sent on May 7, 2021, in which Mr. Bollinger had a neighborhood meeting on May 24th, 2021. There was no one in attendance besides myself and the applicant. The public hearing notification was sent out on July 16, 2021. It was posted on the Glendale Star on July 15, 2021, and the site was posted by the applicant on July 12, 2021. There was one comment received by the applicant in support of the proposal, and I did receive correspondence from someone that was not in support of the application. They cite the proposal to be a safety concern. The following are the findings from planning. Planning staff finds that the request meets the findings for section 3.904 in the zoning ordinance. The following is the analysis. The city's zoning ordinance defines home occupation as an occupation or profession conducted from a principal residence in a residentially zoned district as an accessory use. The use requires a CUP for the home occupation class 2 because the business will generate customer traffic at the residence, and it also does meet the requirements for a class 2 home occupation requirement for the CUP. The proposed use will not have detrimental effect on the neighborhood by applying the following. The hours of operation will be Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5:30 and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The residence has 3 parking spaces as shown in the site photo previously, and customer traffic will not exceed more than 1 vehicle at a time. There is a security system with 6 cameras, and all transactions will occur within the residence between the applicant and the customer. Adequate storage of firearms will be within a concealed storage. There will be no physical changes to the site, and the next bullet point is just a repetition of the first bullet point you see above. I apologize. All applicable city departments have reviewed the CUP application and recommend approval of the application. Federal firearms licensing application is required with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive, abbreviated ATF, and CUP approval is required as part of the licensing application review. Planning recommendation is the following. Planning staff recommends the approval of CUP 21-05, subject to the following stipulations. The first is that development shall be in substantial conformance with the site plan dated May 24th, 2021, and the project narrative dated April 2nd, 2021. The second is that the applicant shall maintain all state and federal licensing requirements, and a valid Glendale business license shall be issued and maintained for the duration of the home-based business. The third stipulation is that the hours of operation shall be Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5:30 and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the fourth stipulation will be that only one customer is allowed at a time at the site by appointment only, and a scheduling log shall be maintained. And finally, the fifth stipulation is that the existing security system shall stay active for the duration of this home-based business. This concludes my presentation. I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
Commissioners, anything for Ms. Castaneda? Commissioner Cole?
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Castaneda. Several of these stipulations are relevant to the operation of the business. For example, the log that needs to be maintained by Mr. Bollinger. how does the city monitor that and enforce that? I'm assuming it's not in your department to do so.
I think that log is required by the ATF.
It's good information.
Yes, currently the application is still under review. It hasn't been finalized until the CUP is approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One question. If we approve this conditional use permit, does that permit stays on that property until it's changed, regardless of the current property owner living there or not moving? Correct?
Well, it does, one of the stipulations is for the duration of the home-based business. I mean, I believe that if there is a chance that there is a new resident and they would want to have a business such as this would apply. But I'm not sure if you would want me to revise the stipulation to include that.
I'm not sure if we can or not, Mr. Gruber.
Chair, members of the commission, and I understand the question to be whether you could make one of the conditions that I guess the CUP would expire upon the sale of the property. Is that I understand that? I think that is a condition that you could place on this approval. Would also want to know if the applicant is okay with that. So it's a question for that person when he comes up.
Commissioners, anything else? Thank you, Ms. Castaneda. Okay, would the applicant please come forward, state your name for the record, and make your presentation? Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you. Good evening. I'm John Bollinger. My address is 4903 West Turquoise Avenue, Glendale, 85302. Thank Ms. Castaneda for the presentation. That was excellent. I've been working with her for 6 months. A couple things I'd like to kind of switch around and reiterate with this is that this application for this permit, which ties into me getting my federal firearms license, which I have met with the ATF already and have that process in motion, but he will need the conditional use permit first before he can submit my application and get that finalized. The business actually is going to be more of a firearm transfer based, which does come along with the sale of a firearm. If somebody seeks me out because they're going to purchase a firearm and they need it sent to a federal firearms license dealer to do the legal transfer to them, and that's where I would come in at with the paperwork, making sure they're legal residents, and also contacting when you do a firearm sale, unless you have a concealed permit from DPS, you have to make a phone call to the FBI and to their national system where they do the background check immediately on anybody to make sure they're not criminal, any kind of type of criminal. They give you the okay, and then you go ahead and make the transfer at that moment. So basically, this is probably going to be more of a firearm transfer business as opposed to a sale business. I'm not going to purchase stockpile firearms at my house and sell them. That is not the idea here. The idea is to make available myself. As I went forward researching this, I realized there are about probably 100 plus FFL dealers in Glendale alone, and over 1,000 in the Phoenix metro area. So you can see it's a pretty big, wide scope. That includes my neighbors down the street and also Cabela's, all doing the same exact thing, the same legally operation, and you do the same. And the logbook issue I did hear discussed was, yes, the ATF, you as soon as you receive a firearm, if somebody sends one to me, to FedEx, I log that into my book immediately when I get it, and then the person will come and that will be transferred to them, and I will put it in the book on my in page and out to them on my out page with all their identification and everything. It's just going to be a small business. I'm going to put my name out there on some sites where they do legal gun sales, and I'll see what happens. I don't really expect it to be real busy. I do a little bit of firearm buying and selling myself, so this will accommodate me somewhat to make that a little easier to do on my half. I don't have to go down to the corner store or go down to the pawn store or go down to Cabela's or something to do the firearm business. I can do it myself when I will have my license at that point. I'm open to any questions.
Commissioner Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. I don't see mention of ammunition in the packet. Is ammunition part of your business?
I had not planned on doing anything with ammunition. I have ammunition, personal ammunition, that I store in a separate safe at my house. I have firearm safe and I have an ammunition safe at my house. I hadn't planned on doing any of that at all, to be honest with you. It was more, I actually started out as a private thing for myself, but after I got to talking to the ATF guy, it's like, well, you really need to treat this as a business and not as like your personal private hobby. So that's where I have to come in with the, yes, I will be putting my name out there, like I said, at some sites so that people can contact me if they're ready to do some kind of a legal firearm transfer.
Thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Crowe?
Mr. Bollinger, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Can you describe the transfer process? What does that look like? What are you doing?
Well, there's a form, there's an ATF form that you get. When you get that, when the people come in to they'll call me up, probably start right away and say, I'm sending you a firearm through FedEx or UPS. Those are the two carriers that usually, they use mostly FedEx that will allow you to mail firearms. They'll send it from them to me, whoever they bought it from. If they bought it from a guy in Missouri, he'll take it to his FF dealer, they'll mail it to me. Now I'm an FF dealer. So dealer to dealer, I log it in on my book as far as serial number, type of firearm, all the information for that firearm. When they show up, they present their identification. I make the call to do the background check on them. If that's all okayed, I write all that information down in the book. I'll get an approval number from the FBI as far as they're being okay to purchase a firearm. They fill out paperwork, about 10 or 11 questions stating that they are legally able to own a firearm. They don't have any kind of issues going on as far as past drug use. They answer these questions. You don't know for sure if they're 100% correct, and nobody ever does. But once you get the background check okay, they're allowed to buy the firearm. So at that point, I charge them a small fee, finished all the paperwork with them, the firearm, and they own it. And I have the record right there of in to me, out to them.
The customer has to come to your house to do this.
He's going to come to my house
because he has to sign.
Yes, he's going to have to come there. Yeah, it's kind of like close to being, I don't know, voter registration kind of a thing. Almost in a way, I worked at elections for 20 years, so it's kind of like a you got the certain way you have to do it, and you can't go off the page or do anything different. If they get declined to purchase the firearm, they're declined. They have the right to go and talk to the background check people at FBI and find out why they were declined. But they don't have to tell them why they declined them. But
Ms. Bollinger, have you spoken to your neighbors about doing this?
I have a couple neighbors around me that have said they're waiting. They had asked me if I started the business. I had one gentleman email me, and he was on board with it, and he said that after I mailed my letters out, he was on board with it. He said, good luck, and I hope you're successful. My sign's been out there for about 3 weeks now, I think, 3 to 4 weeks, and I haven't really heard anything. I haven't heard anything negative about it at all. So, like I said, if people realize probably how many of these FFL dealers there were in their area, they might be a little surprised. But there's quite a few of them that are just residents in the area, because I looked it up on the internet, and there's a lot of people that have firearms licenses.
Will you have employees?
I'm sorry?
Will you have employees?
No, just be me. I'm the sole proprietor, owner, operator. That would be it.
You said you might sell guns.
I could.
The transfer is one side of the business, but the change, the conditional use permit allows you to sell guns.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the FFL license I'm getting is the sale and transfer of firearms is what it will allow.
Okay. So if you get into the sales of guns, what's written here on this list is that, and I understand it now, that when it's a transfer, guy has an appointment, he pulls up to your house, you do the transfer, he leaves, it's a one-at-a-time kind of situation.
Right, oh, yeah, most definitely, yes.
But if you move into the sales side, how do you control that? How do you keep that traffic
it's not
to a
gonna-
point where it's not a nuisance to your neighbors?
I guess it's not going to be, first of all, it's not going to be like a walk-up business or anything like that. It's not going to be an open business. If I'm selling a firearm, it's going to be because somebody contacts me and says, I'm looking for this firearm. Can you get it for me? And then I will say, I get it from you, and now I'm going to have to charge you a little bit more for it so I can make some money, and I also will do the transfer myself because I'll be a licensed dealer at that point, and I'll be able to do that. I'm not planning on stockpiling any firearms at my house where somebody can come up and look at them. That's not the plan behind this at all. That's not what I want to do.
That would be a retail storefront that
Exactly, and
existed in your house.
that's nothing what I have in mind when I basically started this out as basically the transfer business.
So then you wouldn't be against us stipulating that you're not permitted to have a retail storefront?
No, I do not, I would have no problem with that at all. No,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pollinger.
Commissioners? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I do not have any speaker cards.
Chair, members of the commission, point of order. I don't know if you wanted to ask the applicant as well if he was okay with the potential condition of the CUP expiring upon the sale of the property.
That was perfectly fine, yes.
The applicant responded that that was okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Okay, I don't have any speaker cards. Are there any members of the audience that would like to speak? Okay, hearing none. The public hearing for case number CUP 21-05 is now closed. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Nyberg.
I would recommend that we move approval of CUP 21-05 per the findings and subject to the stipulations in the staff report. I would like to offer on recommendation or stipulation number 5, I would like to add the language. Currently, the stipulation reads, the existing security system shall stay active for the duration of the firearm sales home-based business. I would like to add the language, properly maintained and in good working order, to that stipulation.
Thank you, Mr. Nyberg.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I apologize. Also, I wanted to include the stipulation that a retail storefront operation not be permitted as a condition of this application. Also, that the conditional use permit shall expire upon the sale or transfer of the property.
Second.
Do we want to go home or what? Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve CUP 21.05 with the stipulations as written in the staff report, plus the 2 additional stipulations just offered by Ed Nyberg, that the retail storefront operation is not permitted. Number 5 is the existing security system is properly maintained in good condition and working order. And number 7, that the CUP expires on sale of the property or change of ownership. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. That was my motion.
Any further discussion? I will now conduct a roll call vote. Commissioner Crow?
Aye.
Commissioner Cole?
Aye.
Commissioner Nyberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilfong?
Aye.
Commissioner Nowakowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heath?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Mr. Gruber, what's the next step in the process?
Chair, members of the commission, your action with respect to case number CUP 21-05 is final, subject to a written appeal received within 15 days.
Thank you, Mr. Gruber. Okay, that's all of the agenda items in regards to the cases that we have tonight. Let's go to other business. Ms. Perry.
Thank you, Chairperson Crow. Commissioners, for context purposes, at previous public hearing meetings, the commission has been approached by individuals who indicated that they did not receive notification letters in the citizen participation process. One of the commissioners, I guess, made a statement or a request that it would be nice to have the mailing labels as part of the citizen participation final report. So I wanted to report back to the commission that starting with the September 2nd public hearing packet, as part of the staff report, you will have the citizen participation final report, and in that final report, it shall include the mailing labels for your review. The significance of that is hopefully if an individual approached the dais and indicate that they did not receive notification, you will have the ability to look at the labels and see whether or not the individual received the mailing from the applicant and from staff.
Okay, next item.
The next item is at a previous public hearing meeting, and I think also perhaps maybe a workshop, the commission brought up a concern regarding the notice of public hearing as it relates to the Glendale Star. I believe the context of it was a concern about the circulation because the Glendale Star had changed how they were circulating their newspaper, mainly meaning that they were no longer delivering it to residents. So to give context to that a little bit further, before you on your dais, there's two documents. One is 3.806, and it's noted as public notice. This information came from the zoning ordinance that we're currently working under, and it's highlighted for Section C. And for the sake of the audience, I will read what that states. It says, a notice shall be placed in the newspaper of general circulation of the area, or newspaper designated by the City Council for legal public notices, advertising the type and nature of the public hearing at least 15 days prior to the date of the scheduled public hearing. The changes shall be published in a display ad covering not less than 1/8 of a full page. That is coming from the zoning ordinance. And then state statute basically says that the publication of a notice would be in a newspaper of general circulation printed in English. In evaluating what Glendale Star currently does, from my understanding, is that they're publishing weekly on every Thursday. Okay. With that, they do deliver their newspaper at designated locations. An example would be City Hall. So we have numerous copies of the publication at City Hall for citizens when they come in. The second option, it allows for anyone who desires to subscribe for weekly deliveries via email. Based on those two items of how the Glendale Star is operating right now, and based on how the zoning ordinance states general circulation, and the fact that our city council designated that the Glen Star is the appropriate newspaper for our advertisement of public hearing, I wanted to report back is that we are in legal conformance with state statute as well as the zoning ordinance requirement for public hearing notices. And then to provide some context to how Glendale Star is meeting the intent of general circulation. I'm not certain that that information addresses everyone's concern, but I wanted to bring that back before you this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Commissioners, any comments?
Yeah, Tabitha, it doesn't address the concern because I think that decision to use the Glendale Star was prior by the council was prior to their change in operations. I believe that's true. And what I heard from the commission was that we just want to make sure people hear. And I also believe I heard from the commission that we don't believe that the Glendale Star is going to ensure people hear. So I don't, Commissioner or staff, know what the next step is, but the answer that we just heard, I don't think met anyone's concern.
Yes, Commissioner Nyberg, did you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did, and Ms. Perry, I appreciate your work and your diligence on that. But I did a little research myself, and a full disclosure, I am not an attorney and I do not have a law degree. I would defer to Mr. Gruber for that expertise. But here's what I found when I did a little research and I looked at Arizona Revised Statutes Title 39, Chapter 2. In this chapter, unless the context otherwise requires, newspaper means a publication regularly issued for dissemination of news of a general and public character at stated short intervals of time. Such publication shall be from a known office of publication and shall bear dates of issue and be numbered consecutively. It shall not be designed for primarily advertising, free circulation, or circulation at nominal rates, but have a bona fide list of paying subscribers. B, newspaper shall not include a publication which has not been admitted under federal law as second-class matter in the United States mails for 1 year. Now again, I'm not an attorney, but my interpretation of that paragraph is that the newspaper has to be mailed and second-class postage has to be paid for a term of 1 year or longer. That's my layman's interpretation. So I appreciate the research on what the ordinance says, but I'm still concerned that the STAR does not meet the statutory requirements for what we need to do. And paying subscribers, when they drop off a stack of them at City Hall, that's not paying subscribers. And so my concern is the city is at risk for not meeting statutory requirements, and I think the issue needs to be vetted completely. And I don't know if that involves the legal staff or outside counsel, I'm not sure, but reading through the statute, my opinion is now, I believe more today than I did previously, the Glendale Star does not meet the statutory requirements for public notice. And if that's the case, then all boards and commissions and city council and all of our public notices are suspect.
Ms. Perry?
Thank you, Chairperson. Commissioners, thank you for the dialogue. I wanted to demonstrate that staff was listening and that we are putting forth the effort. The additional information that you brought back, I will take that information and I will continue to have the dialogue with the city attorney's office, which I did have some dialogue with them, and I'll report back the feedback that I received from you today, and we will figure out what appropriate next steps may be. I think one of the things that may be helpful is that if the commissioners would reach out to their council person of their district that they represent and express your concerns that way also, that will also help in this process, because this would be something that we would need to have further conversation through the city attorney's office, the city manager's office, to the city council. So ultimately the goal was to kind of come back and actually hear from myself, report back what I found thus far, and then have the dialogue with you so that I will understand what next steps need to be.
Are you familiar with the statute 39.201?
Chairperson Crow, yes.
Well, there were some comments based on that 39.201 that's a little concerning to me. The paid subscribers and, so, well, anyway, you heard it. There's a couple things there that's a little disconcerting. And I don't really care how we notify the public. We just want to make sure that it's correct and that we're following statute and that we're legal. That's where we're coming from. We don't care who it is, whether it's the Glendale Star or ABC newspaper. We just want to make sure that we're doing it right. I think what we need to do, and I'd like to ask the commissioners if they're okay with this, is to ask Ms. Perry to, again, get with legal counsel based on the information that Commissioner Nyberg has put forward and the concerns that Commissioner Crow brought up, and report back to us at the next meeting. Sure. Commissioners, are you okay with that?
I don't know if there's a medium for this, but it would be based on what Tabitha just recommended, that we all speak to the individual representatives, council members. Is there a way that, is there a medium for this body to send a letter to the council?
Yeah, I think, Mr. Gruber, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think staff could send out a blanket email on our behalf saying the commission is concerned about this and that we've asked staff to do an in-depth investigation, including legal counsel, to determine once and for all if this is an appropriate publication and that we're legal.
Chair, members of the commission, yes, staff can certainly work with council's staff and council themselves to let them know of the concerns raised by the commission.
Commissioner, you okay with that?
Yes.
Is the commission okay with moving forward on this as stated and have Ms. Perry come back to us at the next meeting with the findings? And she can put that under other business. Mr. Gruber, is that all right?
Yes, Chair, members of the commission, yes.
Okay. Ms. Perry?
Thank you. Chairperson, Commissioners, that conclude item number 7 for other business. The next item is number 8 for planning staff report. I just wanted to bring back to the commission that the commissioners indicated that they would like to know some of the development that is taking place in the city, because you're hearing of a lot of projects, but you're not quite certain of what the status of what those developments have occurred. So specifically, it was Gate, and I would define that as being the sports and entertainment corridor. And it is our intention to bring that back to Planning Commission, if not in the month of September, then definitely in the month of October. But once again, I wanted to acknowledge that we did hear, and we are in the process of working on providing you with that presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Perry, anything else?
Chairperson Crow, no.
Commissioners, anything else? Commissioner Nowakowski?
I believe it was the last city council meeting. I was watching with a lot of interest, and you know, this is with the mind frame that our role here on the Planning Commission is to provide recommendations to council for the best long-term interests of our neighborhoods and community. And the Planning Commission recommendations were not provided to council on 2 of the items. I'm not going to point fingers. I just want to know what happened, because I know a few of the council members said they appreciate our input, but they didn't get it. Thank you.
I heard the same thing, that there was at least one council member that was not pleased about that. And I think staff, for whatever reason, I think staff got the clear message that going forward that our recommendations need to be in their packet. And I think that was pretty clear. And I think going forward, I think that's probably not going to be a problem. But
I just want to know what happened.
yeah, I don't know what happened. Ms. Perry, do you? Mr. Gruber?
So, Chair, members of the commission, I apologize for being the stickler for open meeting law, but we'd be getting into a topic that wasn't defined on the agenda if we start to speak about that. So I suggested to Ms. Perry that she speak to Commissioner Novakowski offline to answer the question tonight. And we could put it, if you want, on the next meeting's agenda to discuss. It's up to you. But
No, that's fine.
But we can't really get into it right now.
I would take that call from Ms. Perry.
Well, I think the whole commission probably at this point would like to know what the answer is, so let's put that on the agenda. You're welcome. Okay, anything else? Commissioners, anything else? Okay, our next regular meeting is September 2nd at 6 o'clock here. And with that said, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.